Okay, let's play around with this a little bit, right? I'm going to make a new sketch, front plane, right? Everything as before, and I'm going to make a triangle. Don't constrain it in any fashion, like to the origin or to the line, right? So any triangle. I'm going to measure these out. So let's say D. Let's make this one 85. It's not bad. D. 90 is okay. And this one will be, let's say, 75. Okay, so I like to make a line, but two segments, right? So I'm going to go first segment, here's the first segment, here's the second segment, right? Now, I like to make this line collinear, so I'm going to use the parallel, and this will make it collinear. These two will be collinear, right? The next thing I like to do is I like to anchor this point to the middle of that line. So this will be perpendicular. This will be the perpendicular bisector. So now I'm going to get the coincident, and I'm going to I'm going to get the middle. So I'm going to get the midpoint, and I'm going to say I'm going to take this point to the midpoint of that line. See? So that's the midpoint of that line. If I want to measure this distance, you see, should give me half of that, 42.5, which you can edit, right? Because the whole distance is set. So next thing I'm going to do, I want to make this perpendicular. So I'm going to get the perpendicular tool, and I'll make these two perpendicular. All right. So and I still have freedom of movement. I can move this around, and you see this line stays perpendicular. If I need to make it a little longer, I could, grab it. So the only constraint is really that this is in the midpoint and perpendicular. Let me do the same thing on the other side, right? So same thing. I'm going to make a line going through here. So two segments, remember, two segments. I'm going to select parallel. There it is. Now I'm going to make this point go through the midpoint. I'm going to say midpoint. And this goes to the midpoint of that line. So there it is. And the last one is perpendicular. So perpendicular right here. I'm going to make this a little longer, right? Let this go out a little longer. Oops, I think I got it, yeah. And this doesn't have to be out that much. This point right here. Okay, we'll leave it. Let's do one more. And again, I'm going to go through this one. Escape. I'm going to make it parallel. Right? And now coincident. Midpoint. So midpoint, this point, midpoint, and perpendicular. So perpendicular, these two lines, perpendicular. I think I can make this longer without too much trouble. There it is. Okay. Did I do all three? Yeah, did all three. So these are perpendicular, and if I measure the line, the angle, so if I press D, this should be 90 degrees, right? Okay. And the question is this the midpoint, or what's called a centroid of the triangle? And a centroid has a property where a perpendicular line to all the faces, all the sides is equivalent. So let me try that, right? I'm going to look at the perpendicular line to each one. Now this one looks kind of perpendicular already. I could change it. Doesn't have to be, right? I move it around. So I'll show you what I mean. And I'm going to draw a line. It's going to be a construction line from here to this side, right? Anywhere to the side. I'm going to make these two perpendicular. Okay. So it's slowing down a little bit here. But you give it a try. I'm gonna going to wait for this. But draw this. I want to make this perpendicular, and then I want to do one from here to here, and you'll see that it won't be the same. So this is not the centroid. Okay, so give it a try and prove it to yourself. Okay.